No, grab one from the other room, anywhere.
There's no stealing chairs. You can borrow a chair.
All right. Are you ready?
I think so. Don't hate me if I'm a little mellow, just because podcasts, I haven't done a ton of them. But
I'll handle that.
Cool.
I'll make you mad or push the button.
Sweet, that'll work.
Hey! It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof up. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Life is not easy. Life isn't fair. It never was, and it never will be. A good life takes grit, because the best things in life come from hard work, sacrifice, resolve, determination, and perseverance. Because grit means never quitting. It means coming back time and time again until you succeed. So on this show, we talk hunting, we talk outdoors, we talk conservation, we talk family and life. We talk fitness, and we talk strength of body, strength of mind, and strength of character. Prioritize who you are and who you want to be. Get gritty, because life isn't fair, and a little grit can make all the difference. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. We are at the studio here in Fruit Heights, Utah.
It's pretty legit.
And this is the last day of the Total Archery Challenge.
Right? Just got off the mountain.
Snowbird.
Literally just got off the mountain. Dude, I am sore. I am sore. I don't know if you can tell. My neck's a little bit red. I don't know.
Yeah, for those that are watching, I'm got so Joel, introduce yourself.
So my name is Joel Burham. I own an apparel company, lifestyle brand called Whitetail Fit. Mm-hmm. As you see our Venison Gains t-shirts right now. Appreciate you wearing that, Brian.
Bam! That's genius. It's hashtag Venison Gains. I've been wearing this shirt for, I don't know, how long have you had it? A couple years? Year and a half?
Yeah, dude. I think I gave you that at ATA 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that 2 years ago?
I think so.
Dude.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so I've had the brand I started the brand, June would be 2 years. So just over 2 years I've had this brand kicked off. So, but it's been going awesome, man. I really appreciate everybody's support. Everybody's been so nice.
Oh, yeah.
So nice, dude.
And you went to the Total Archery Challenge this weekend,
mm-hmm.
and you're from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Mostly started out whitetail hunting as a kid, or?
Yeah. So I started out when I was like 12 years old, and you watch TV shows and stuff like that, like Bone Collector and
mm-hmm.
the Midwest shows, a lot of whitetail stuff, Drury Outdoors and stuff. So I kind of got into just watching them, being interested. Nobody in my family really bow hunted. Nobody even rifle hunted. My dad had done some pheasant hunting when he was in like college,
Yeah.
And I think my grandpa maybe killed a doe when he was, way back,
mm-hmm.
with a rifle. But no bow hunters or anything like that. And so I kind of started getting into bow hunting when I'd kind of watch those shows, and I'd go, if we'd go to the local Walmart or Shields or whatever, I'd see them on the shelf, and I'd see hunting magazines and all that. And I'm like, oh man, that'd be kind of cool, and we live in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 6 acres, and out back behind my parents' house, there's a decent sized lake and, or a pond, but a big creek bottom that run up to it. So there's a lot of deer that kind of followed through there. And I just remember I just kind of go out there once in a while just to walk around and be a 12-year-old,
Yeah.
And, but it was like November, and I saw a buck chasing a doe out in the middle of this just cut bean field.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm like, man, that's crazy, and I'd seen pictures on, the DVDs and all the magazines and stuff. I'm like, that looks like a big buck. I don't know what a big buck looks like, but it was probably like a spike, whatever. But to me, I was like, man, that's fascinating that it's just like, you don't see that stuff all the time, So, so I started looking into it a little more, and then I came to my mom and dad, and I'm like, hey, I think I want to buy a bow. Like, could we do something for like Christmas, And, so my dad went in with me, and I bought half the bow, and my dad bought the other half of the bow. And, I just started shooting that. And, my brothers were always out just hanging out with me in the outdoors and stuff like that anyway. So,
How many kids are in the family?
So I'm the youngest. I've got 3 older brothers, Ethan, Caleb, and Jared. So
okay,
yeah, my mom, poor lady.
Yeah, I was the opposite for me. I'm like the oldest of 8 kids, but they're mostly all
8
girls.
kids?
Yeah.
Dude,
I got 6 sisters.
Wow.
It's a lot of girls, man.
That's a lot of girls.
It's a lot of chicks in my house.
Wow.
My dad was gone a lot. He just worked a lot of hours, It's a lot of kids to feed. And so I really grew up with a bunch of women.
Oh, man. That explains a lot.
Yeah. I'm a sensitive side. But no, it's for real that I had 2 cousins that were my age that grew up next door to me that were guys. And so they were like my brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had, we were really fortunate. We grew up, everyone of us, we grew up homeschooled. So my mom homeschools, which again.
So you're kind of backwoods.
Yeah.
You're a little
pretty
weird.
Much. Yeah. I'm a little weird.
You're one
I'm
of those
off.
homeschool kids.
Yeah. No doubt. We had some of my best friends, pretty much all growing up, Mark and Tony, they lived right up the road, and
were you in some church cult up there too? Or
no. No. We had so much fun though. Like, just they were into a lot of the same stuff that we were into. So it was nice to have close friends.
How
in the
big
country,
is the town that you're from? That you grew up in?
I mean, I grew up on the side of a dirt road. I mean, when you think about it, it's not necessarily. The closest town was probably Roca. I mean, that was kind of like our area code. And I mean, it's small. It's not, I wouldn't even want to guess how many people, and then after that, a more well-known city about 30 minutes away is Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I grew up and was raised there.
How old are you, man?
I'm 25. I'm a young
Son of a gun, dude. So when I first saw you, I see you through social media, I think, primarily. And you're a dude that looked young. The beard helps.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it. The other day I was shaving and I was just trying to trim things up, just get it nice looking. And I went way too deep, and then I had to shave it.
And you look 12 again with hair.
I know, dude.
No. Yeah. So you grew. I saw you, I think, 3 years ago, you'd have been like 22.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And then what I noticed, 2 things. One, that fitness was a big deal to you.
Yeah.
You were focused on that. And so, you're always getting after it and trying to be in shape, healthy.
Trying. For sure.
With fitness, with exercise and diet and all that. I mean, the whole package. And then I noticed that you were very earnest, about hunting and the outdoors and archery and the message that you want to bring, a positive message that you want to bring to, anyone under your sphere of influence.
Yeah. So hunting to me, like, I'm just going to be honest. It kept me out of so much trouble in high school. Like, all I wanted to do was go hunt. So like, if somebody was having a party or whatever, parents not home, whatever, it's like, okay, I got to get up at 5 a.m. and go to my tree stand. Like, all right, dude, I was so obsessed. Like, so it shaped my life around who I am now, so it just means so much to me. So I take it very seriously is what I'm saying.
What's the most intense or like standout, like whitetail deer hunting experience for you so far?
Yo, honestly, my public land deer last year, it was insane. Like,
let's hear it.
Oh my gosh. All right. So a lot of you guys are familiar with Onyx maps. I've been using that a ton. I started using it for antelope hunting out in northwestern Nebraska.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 3 years ago or something like that. Before they did all the revisions to it that they have now.
Yeah.
But, so I got the Nebraska, maps and stuff. And then I started really researching public land at that point. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all of this ground that I have at my disposal.
Yeah.
And I've hunted public land before that, but it was just like you drive by and see a road sign that says public ground. I never really looked into the maps of stuff.
Right.
And in Nebraska, that's not a lot. You'd have to drive a long time until you saw a sign. You know what I mean? So there's just not a lot of public ground in Nebraska. It's just the way it is. And so when I really started researching that stuff, I just got intrigued because a lot of the private ground spots that I had started getting overrun with, and don't get me wrong, that, you know, landowners were letting these people have permission. They would knock on their door just like I would or anybody else would. But they were just giving out a lot of permission. So naturally the hunting kind of started to suck a little bit. So, you know, the deer movement just wasn't what it used to be and all that stuff. So when I found out how much public ground was around or was within a couple hours of me, I'm like, oh man, I should probably go check this stuff out, you know? And then I just, dude, I went down the rabbit hole. Like public ground, there's so much, like so much good that you can do with public ground as far as hunting goes. So, anyway, that was way off the rabbit hole, but, I researched this one piece of public ground really extensively just because of the way it lays out.
I would assume, though, that public ground in Nebraska, there's not much of it. Like there's
no, not a ton.
Like
the majority of it is in northwestern, so like the Pine Ridge area and stuff like that. But where I'm from, the southeast corner of Nebraska, there's just, you know, you have some stuff along the Missouri River, but a lot of it is these walk-in access only. Yeah. So it's like more or less farmers or landowners who, you know, the game and parks are basically leasing that land from them. And that's a huge deal because it gives access to a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise have access, you know. But so I researched this one piece of ground for this time of year and everything. I love late October for whitetail. Yeah. The big boys are out on the feet in late October. That's just, from what I've found, they get locked down in late October or the first few days in November. And then, you know, you see a lot of juveniles and stuff chasing during the heat of the rut. Right. But Nebraska rifle season comes in like second week of November. Okay. So things just, I mean, it turns into Orange Army.
I was going to say that's like the perfect time to slaughter a lot of rutting deer.
Yeah. Yeah. But not necessarily big deer. Like, don't get me wrong, big deer run at that. You know, they'll use that time and they run and they're just stupid like any other deer when they're looking for a doe or whatever. But the really big ones, they lock down in late October, early November. So I'd been researching this piece of ground for a long time.
When you say lock down with a doe somewhere.
Yeah, lock down with a doe. Yeah. And then they're really hard to get on. When they're locked down, it's like, I mean, nocturnal. Right. You know? So
they got what they need for a while. They're not showing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so I researched this ground and I knew that this was like the week that I wanted to spend most of my focus on this ground. And I'd already had all my pins dropped of where I thought would be a good spot to sit. And I didn't want to go in because I didn't know how many, from when I'd scouted this place, I didn't see a ton of sign of like actual people being in there. Like it was pretty remote for the most part, you know? Right. So I'm like, man, this might be a really good piece of property to really hone in on. Yep. And it turned out being a good piece of property. So I dropped some pins and stuff and just knew where I wanted to be with the right wind and the right time of day. And I did a hang and hunt. So I took my tree stand in and my climbing sticks and stuff and threw them up in the tree stand right where I dropped a pin on this one spot. I think it was about 3/4 mile back from the road. Which, I mean, if you're from the west, 3/4 miles is nothing. You know?
Yeah, but it seems like back east, that might as well be a 9-mile hike or 20-mile hike if you're out west. Like,
it can get thick.
It seems like people don't, you know, when I talk to the hunting public.
Dude, those guys are awesome.
They're studs. Yeah. And they have their YouTube channel, and those who haven't checked it out, especially if you're a whitetail hunter, you should check it out. But they primarily, they just focus on hunting whitetail on public land.
And killing it.
And they're finding whitetails off the beaten path on public land. There's not a lot of it, and there's a lot of competition. Yet they're still making it happen. It's like there's this negative stereotype that you can't kill a big buck on public land, and
you can. It just takes a lot of work, and you got to be willing to work for it.
But I mean, it's got to be hugely rewarding compared to just paying for a lease and then going out and, managing it all by yourself. You know, no one else is going to be there. I never had that. The only way I could kind of semi-guarantee I'd have a spot to myself is to go so stupid remote and maybe up some mountain that no sane person would go to.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Like
now
Eric
it's
Chesser.
my own. Yeah.
Yeah. That dude's a mountain goat. I went shed hunting with Eric Chesser here. My girlfriend and I came out to Utah and did some shed hunting with him. And oh man, what a nice guy. I love that dude. But oh my goodness, he's a mountain goat.
Yeah.
Like some of the spots he was going shed hunting and taking us. I'm like, dude,
Especially
I'm
like
from Nebraska.
I know you guys. So like this mountain you did this weekend at TAC. I mean,
I've started to get better because like I never really had come out west until I started Whitetail Fit. Like, a lot of, I mean, I've been out west, no doubt, but not shed hunting, not hunting, not,
not consuming your public lands,
not consuming my public
like
lands like I should. Yeah, no doubt. And it's, I can tell a difference. Like now that I know what to expect.
Yeah.
When you come out here. And that's a big thing with like, you look at any whitetail hunter from the Midwest, what's their dream hunt? Elk hunting. Or, don't get me wrong, whitetail is awesome. And that's what everybody, I love whitetail. I'm obsessed with whitetail. It's my number one animal. I will always want to hunt whitetail over everything. But my dream hunt has always been to do an elk hunt out in Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, whatever, So it's kind of one of those things that fitness kind of comes in with whitetail hunting in the Midwest. That deer that I killed, I had to pack my tree stand in. I self-film, so I pack all my camera gear in, and you know how that is. It's heavy, and you're climbing sticks and everything, and you hang the stand, you do everything that you need to do.
And you did this like at early in the morning, or was it
after work? Yeah. So I work full-time construction. So
you hiked in 3 miles after work and threw up a stand.
About 3/4 mile.
3/4 mile.
3/4 mile.
Okay.
Yep.
3/4 mile and threw up a stand, and then you just climbed in that. And why did you pick that spot?
So you can kind of pattern whitetail with funnels, with scrape blinds, rub lines, whatever, whatever the time of year. I mean, you could dive down deep into
I listened to Wired to Hunt with Mark Kenyon.
That dude's a stud too.
You can go like a million. I mean, I don't know how many episodes are there now, but
not enough, dude. I can't get enough of that guy. No, honestly,
all whitetail.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, there's a whole obsession with that species. Yeah. And now that I've hunted them the last year,
you find out, dude, it's fun.
I am whitetail addicted.
Seriously.
I mean, they're just a killer animal to hunt.
Oh, and they're fast.
When I hunted I hunted with Tim Burnett in Oklahoma, and then I hunted with my buddy Sloan on his ranch in Texas. When I say ranch, it's his family's house.
Is that the one you went with Casey?
Yes.
Okay.
And we did spot and stalk. We just waited for the deer to we went to the high spot on the property, which was a tin watershed. It's like 12 feet. And then,
oh, really?
Yeah, we climbed to the top of that.
There's your tree stand right there.
And
Perfect.
and then we looked over, and it was just like scrub brush. And
well, Texas is quite a bit different as far as terrain goes for like the typical Midwestern whitetail hunt. And now I've never hunted Texas, so I can't really say a whole lot, but
it's right next to Oklahoma is where Sloan lives. So
you got a lot of like shorter brush, shorter trees and stuff like that, and it's not really big hardwood, right?
No, there was no trees.
Okay.
There's no trees.
Man, that'd be weird. I kind of want to try that.
Well, we watched them go, and there's trees, but they're like, there's like a cluster of 5 trees and then no trees.
Is that normally the bedding area? Like the big clusters of trees and stuff like that? Is that kind of where they hut up?
Well, since I'm a whitetail hunting expert.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
No, they seem to, there's thick brush, but it's waist high. And they love hitting the fields, the ag fields that are there.
Oh, sure. Is there alfalfa?
Or
what the winter wheat?
I think
maybe?
What we were hunting over was rye.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't matter. It was green, and it was,
luscious.
They seem to hit all the fields, and they come in the evening, feed on those fields, and then leave. And at Sloan's place, they never hunt them with anything but bows.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you want
that keeps pressure down.
I mean, so the place is covered up in, 130, 150 inch bucks.
Perfect.
And
hey, to me, honestly, like my biggest deer I have ever killed. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, whatever. Like you're not even good. You're not even a good hunter. Whatever. Right. Biggest deer I've ever killed, like high 130s.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
like my biggest. My blacktails are. I think I have one right around there. And the thing is not even that big. It's freaking hard.
Dude, it's tough. That's the thing. Like, you see a lot of, and like I say, I grew up on, Jury Outdoors and Bone Collector and stuff. Love all those guys.
Yeah.
Total studs. Love them all. Like, amazing people. But a guy like me, a guy like Joe, a guy like, I'm just throwing out names, but, totally just run-of-the-mill dudes working, 40 hours a week, whatever. Dude, we don't have 1,000, 1,500 acres of ground that we can manage,
No.
And that's why I was so excited to find all this public ground on Onyx Maps, because I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I own this.
This is my playground.
This is it.
Unless the senator from your state decides he wants to take it from you and privatize it.
Let's talk about that.
Senator Mike Lee.
Let's talk about that. Come on.
So you
stepping out of bounds, boy.
So you come down there and set up your stand and you kind of figure out where to set up.
Yeah. So it was a transition area. So like where I knew that they were bedding, or where I thought they were bedding anyway, from scouting the property. And if you've watched any of the hunting public stuff, they focus so much on bedding areas.
Right. They said that on the podcast.
Dude, there's a reason for it. They're not just doing that. And it's kind of unconventional. A lot of people will be like, well, don't go crash into the bedding areas.
You don't want to spook them and chase them off. Yeah.
But you got to know where they're bedding. If you don't know where they're bedding, a lot of these bucks, dude, they're not the big old bucks. Most of the time are nocturnal. During that part of the year, they don't want to get shot. They don't want to, So if you get close to the bedding, you can catch them.
So you snuck in close to the bedding.
Yeah. I think I was within. Now I don't know exact. The exact bed he was in, but I had to been within 80 to 100 yards of his bed when I hung the stand.
Okay.
Yeah. No clue he was in there. I mean, I didn't know, but I just knew the general area. Yeah.
And sign and scrapes, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. And you can tell
based on the habitat.
You can tell a
the
big
terrain
buck
features.
bed too.
Yeah.
You walk in and you see, you got hair and stuff, and you might have some droppings.
What about other hunters? I mean, was there a lot of other pressure back there?
To that point, legit, to that point, I had hunted that property. So our season opened September 1st, and I'd gone out and hunted that property like quite a few times. But most of the time that I was hunting it, I was scouting. So I spend a ton of time scouting, and I mean, I spent a lot of time hunting too, but you know what I mean? Like you got to put your boots to the ground when you're trying to figure out how to kill a big buck. So I'd kind of already known that area, but the whole time I didn't see one hunter out there from September 1st to when I killed him. I think it was October 25th.
Okay.
So didn't see one hunter on there. So that tells you and that's in Nebraska.
Right.
Which is insane to think about being public ground.
Yeah. When I talked to the hunting public guys, they were saying that, there's a lot. There are times when they run into a ton of hunters, but there's a lot of land that seems like they don't bump into many people. They have it all to themselves. So,
and some of that, honestly, like some of the best tracts of land that I've ever found for public ground is 60 acres, 70 acres, maybe. It's just totally overlooked. Like people keep driving, they want to see the big pieces of property.
That's where
I drive past it.
That's where I like the land I hunted on for blacktail at my family's place. Relatives and neighbors. It was probably 40 acres if you added it all up. But
that's what I grew up on hunting. I grew up on hunting small parcels of ground. I never had large tracts to my disposal.
No, and a lot of these, I was in a suburban area. It was pretty rural, but there's 5 acre parcels for each house. But there's lots of 20, 30 acres in between at times between sets of houses. But the deer seem to love those. They thrive in those kind of rural suburban neighborhoods.
There was a deer that I was watching on trail camera, and I do a lot of trail camera stuff too. That's a huge part of scouting.
But did you know this buck was there?
No clue this buck was there. No clue whatsoever. But I knew there were good bucks in the area just based off of the tracks that I'd seen.
Yeah.
And the rubs I'd seen. And don't get me wrong, rubs can lie to you.
Yeah.
But when you see a cedar tree I'm talking shredded, that's not lying.
So when he just came, was he chasing a doe?
Dude, he was just leisure. He was going to feed. Yeah. I think he was going to hit his scrape line.
So how far was the shot?
18 yards maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, you boys don't have like a lot of long range stuff going down.
I don't know what the furthest I've ever shot a whitetail at, but it's not long.
Yeah.
Most of the time you don't I train at long distance, I shoot at long distance. I don't like taking shots on whitetail much past 40, 50
They're
feet
so
long
fast.
Shot. Yes, that's why.
I shot this one in Alabama. My first whitetail ever. I shot in Alabama with my bow.
Sweet.
With my friend Brian Broderick, Lost Arrow Films.
Okay.
And buck was walking out. It was 25 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I put my pin. He said, be ready for it to duck. I put
it on his heart,
down by his heart, and I spined him.
Oh my god!
I mean, you can watch the film in slow motion, and he just drops like almost lightning to the ground when he heard the noise. Mm-hmm. And those Alabama deer are hyper wired too.
Oh, I'm sure
they're so pressured.
Well, it's probably like a lot like Michigan deer. Like I'd heard a lot of stuff like on the Wired Hunt podcast and stuff that they have a lot of hunters in Michigan.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine that those deer aren't pressured.
Oh, they have a lot of hunters in Alabama.
Oh yeah.
So same thing. So these deer, I've never been around deer that switched on before, ever. Like. They don't even look like real whitetail to me. They're so twitchy.
Well, they're kind of smaller body too, aren't they?
They're real slight and
I've had a doe. I took a shot at this doe and it was spot and stock, but she didn't know I was there. I swear they have like its 7th and 8th sense.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, she didn't know I was there. She was just feeding. She was totally cool, and I think it was a 30-yard shot. And, dude, she put her belly to the ground. Mm-hmm. No clue I was there. She just heard it go off, and then she just, bam, hit the ground. I shot like 6 inches over her.
Yeah, I shot a couple does in Texas with Sloan, and recorded it in slow motion. Mm-hmm. And at 30 yards, this doe completely dropped to the ground, and my arrow went right over the top of her. It was just luck that she got out of the way. And then another one was
lucky girl.
Another one was looking straight at me because as I drew my bow, she just pinned me, and then she was about to bolt left or right, but it was a frontal shot.
That's a tough decision when you get your bow back and they've locked onto you. That is for me, that is a very tough decision on what to do.
I've hunted blacktails in the Northwest, and they're not like this.
They just chill?
Yeah. They're not they're different. When you have a whitetail come, like a blacktail will, when it comes in, they take a very long time. At least this is my experience hunting blacktail in Oregon. Okay. I'm not saying they're the same in California or Washington. I'm just my locale where I grew up. And I think it's true across the board for the species in general, but they'll take a step and then they'll just stand there forever and look around, and then they'll take another step and they'll stand, and
even with pressure, like even if you have a lot of hunter pressure, they're still like that.
Yes,
seriously, I wish that was like that for whitetail.
They're super silent, and they're super alert. They see everything, and then what happens is they get closer to the stand. They're just looking around. They don't make any noise. Like whitetail are bubbly and more like aggressive.
They're
energetic, right? Yeah. And blacktail are like they're just super slow, like ninjas, And then they come in and then when they hear something coming that's dangerous, like the predator or another human, they freeze and they're watching, and then they slowly sneak behind some trees. Or if they'll stand completely still, and they'll be able to tell if you've seen them or not. And they're very good at standing like a statue and letting you just walk by. And they will let you just walk by them. They will not run away. They'll be 20 yards away and they'll freeze.
So does that make like spot and stock hunting blacktail like
impossible? I mean, not impossible, but spot and tail blacktail hunting is not easy because the forest is so thick. So unless it's raining,
sure, the terrain's way thick. Isn't it?
Unless it's raining, they hear you 200 yards away. I mean, literally, I'll be in my tree stand, and my dad will be coming in to join me like 2 hours later, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I don't see any deer." And then the timing is just right where a deer comes walking in just as he's getting there, right? And he's far away, just barely entering the wood line. He's probably 300 yards away, and they'll pick their head up and they'll tune into him coming, and he'll just be coming down a trail quietly. There's just leaves on the ground. There's ferns. There's bushes. So typically most blacktail guys, and probably the same in other terrain where it's thick, like, I don't know, maybe Florida, but you'll clear your path into your stand way, way, way early in the season. So you can walk in without.
I know a lot of guys that do that for whitetail.
And when I was in other areas, I don't need to do that because the terrain is so clear and quiet to begin with. But, so they'll do that. They'll come into the stand, and it's really cool because, like I said, they'll freeze and they'll just hold tight, and they'll let a coyote like run by, and they'll just sit there, and they're very good at just being still.
So they're the opposite of wired.
Completely.
Yeah, whitetail, man, they're
and then when
even
when they spook, blacktail will spook. They'll run like, I don't know, 30, 40 yards. Boom. They'll book it, out of the general vicinity of that danger, and then they will stop.
Really?
And then they will.
That's a follow-up shot.
They usually stop a little too far away. Maybe it's 50 yards. Mm-hmm. As soon as they feel like they've put some distance between that danger, and then they'll slowly walk away and ghost into the thick. I mean, it's so thick that they don't want to run into something dangerous or into the wrong whatever. So
that's what it's kind of interesting to see the different behavior. And I've never been around blacktail, but the different behaviors of. So northwestern Nebraska, I've done a lot of antelope hunting out there.
Yeah,
and it seems like antelope are kind of like an out of sight, out of mind animal.
Yeah.
So if you bust them, I literally put a stock on this one goat, and I got my bow back once, and the other two times it was just too high wire. I couldn't get my bow back. They kind of had me pinned down, but I probably put 3 miles on. Yeah. But every time they would blow, they'd go over the next bluff.
Yeah.
Then they'd stop, and I'd have another stock.
Yeah, I see that, and I think it's more just location dependent. Aaron tells me like the Kansas whitetail are dumb and they're easier to kill.
Oh, I wish they were dumb.
And then he says like Wisconsin whitetail or Michigan are like too switched on and super smart. Yeah. They're like looking up in the trees like every step, like and the Kansas ones. And then I hear it all over, but I think there are deer that I think hunting pressure has a big impact on behavior. But then other times I've seen animals like just seem to be genetically wired different. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Nebraska, I see Nebraska as a sleeper state because it's not really publicized as much as, you see a lot of big bucks come out of Iowa. You see a lot of big bucks come out of Kansas. Well,
Ohio.
Iowa and Kansas border Nebraska.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you got South Dakota. Right. And then you got Colorado,
And you got all that corn.
All that corn. Yeah, we got all that makes it tough. That is a huge factor, honestly, in whitetail hunting where I'm from.
Yeah.
When the farmers don't pull their corn, when they pull their corn late, it makes my hunting very tough because the deer will use that corn as a bedding area. The deer will use that corn for cover for all throughout the night. If there's a pond, like a lot of these stuff.
What you need to do is get yourself a lease.
Oh man. I just need to trip into some money.
Yeah. How far are you from, so we were just at the Total Archery Challenge. Mm-hmm. Were you not shocked by how many non-Western people that you ran into?
Yes.
Like I would say at least more than half of the people I met up there were from, a lot were from California actually.
Yeah. The coasts.
But a huge majority were from Midwest or the East.
So, and that kind of ties back into what I was saying. Like, when you're from the Midwest, what's the dream hunt? It's elk hunting.
Texas too. There was a ton of people from Texas.
Yeah. And if your dream hunt is up in the mountains and stuff like that, these total archery challenge that they put on is a fantastic representation of what, a possible high country hunt might be like. Because it's no joke. You're up there shooting targets at what was it, 10,500 maybe at the
11,000,
top, 11,000,
something like that. Yeah.
So you get a feel for it, you know, and that excites people. It excites me. I love coming out here.
Well, what's cool too is we take it for granted. Those of us that grew up out here in the West and have hunted mountains and stuff our whole life. It's not just that though. It's the vast tracts of public land.
Yeah, huge.
There's no public land in the East. Really, not much, and there's not much in the Midwest either. There's really none in Texas. The only states, by the time all the states came into statehood, on the West side, that's about the same time that, Theodore Roosevelt and other conservationists were like, you know what? Everything's privatized from end to end. And if we're going to save some of this for the American people to inherit and also save these species that are on the brink of extinction, we're going to need to start conserving some land. So that's when they began to start creating public land, was about the time, the West was still the West and hadn't been converted into states. So that's why, there's actually vast tracts of public land in these places, because it had already been gone by the time they caught the vision of how important it could be, And
this issue that's going down in Utah right now that you kind of touched on yesterday at Total Archery Challenge, a lot of people think that it's happening in Utah. Okay. So it doesn't matter if I'm from Nebraska or if I'm from whatever. That is so far from the truth. Like, it matters so much, because if they're going to get traction with this, they're going to get traction in your state. They're going to get traction everywhere. But the thing is, we own that public ground. I don't care if you're from Nebraska. I don't care if you're from Iowa, whatever. That's your land.
Yeah, look at all the people that came this weekend that are like, I am not, they're catching this vision. They're like, I'm not using this public land I've inherited. That's mine as an American citizen. I'm not using it. Like, there's miles and miles of wilderness and animals out there that I can go and hunt and fish. I can camp, paddle, kayak. I can mountain bike on. I can do all these things. There's all this land, which is completely unheard of back where they're from. If they don't know somebody, or if they can't talk to somebody, they're not going very far.
Yeah.
That blows my mind, because I've had vast amounts of public land in my backyard my whole life. The idea that I wouldn't be able to just go,
that would suck.
It'd be weird.
That would suck.
I don't even know, but I think because they're now catching that vision, they're like, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm going to come out here and I can grab all this land and utilize it. I think we're hunters on the, when you start talking about Midwest and Eastern hunters that come here to hunt, guys from Texas, there are a lot of them that lease land for whitetail and maybe pig or whatever. And so they're, let's face it, if they're leasing land, they're probably financially they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty stable. Yeah.
And they're probably a later age in life or whatever, but they can make this trip and afford to come out West and also hunt. And a $500 elk tag, they're like, yeah, it's cool, whatever, But then there's guys, like you, young, working construction.
I can't afford a lease. I'll tell you that.
You can't afford a lease. And, a $600 elk tag
that's a big step.
Big chunk.
That's something you have to plan for all year.
And I think that bothers a lot of these guys, that they get mad at they're angry because they're like, wait a minute. You mean 60% of Utah is public land? That means 60% of Utah is owned by every American citizen collectively, right? So if you're from New York, Pennsylvania, if you're from Nebraska, this is your land here in Utah. Yet residents pay like $30 for an elk tag or something, and you got to pay like $600.
Yeah.
That pisses them off. And I don't blame them. The thing is, though, the wildlife is not owned by isn't managed by the federal government.
Sure.
It's not collectively owned, the wildlife. The deal that they made was that the wildlife is owned by the state and managed by the state, and the state gets to decide how that resource is used. So you have free access to the land as an American because it's federally managed and it's collectively owned by all Americans, but you do not have access to the game because it's owned by the state. So each state kind of rips off non-residents in order to help fund their program. They show preferential treatment definitely to the residents. I think it's a mistake that the states make. I think that they should share the cost with their own residents and the non-resident as well, so that they are making what they need to make. Because what it does, honestly, is it causes those guys, you know, that are out of state to say, I don't want to support this public land thing. I can't even use it. It costs too much to hunt elk. You charge me, you know, $600.
Yeah, that's no doubt, because it makes it, when you actually want to plan an out of state hunt, you have to sit down financially. You have to sit down and think about it. You say, all right, I mean, it's a $600 tag. I got, you know, I'm going to have to buy all the food. I'm going to have to take time off work. Do you have time off work? Do you have paid time off? Maybe not.
How do you get there?
Yeah. How do you get there? Transportation. Do you have a reliable vehicle? That vehicle might need a new alternator. It might need a new transmission to get you there.
If you drive.
If you're
from,
and if you're flying, you're talking even more money.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, though, that one thing people should remember is that the animal is owned by the state, and it's a state issue. State by state, and some states are just treat non-residents better.
Sure.
Arizona is a great non-resident state.
I've heard, and I don't know enough about it, but I've heard it's easier for a non-resident to draw a tag in Utah than it is a resident.
As a non-resident, it's easier to draw?
Yeah. Maybe that's not right.
I don't know.
I'm not sure on that. But as in they cater to the non-residents because the money's there.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I know, like Idaho, it doesn't matter if you're resident or non-resident. It's just a flat out lottery. Generally, a lot of states will save a certain portion, like 80% of the tags go to non-resident, and they save 20. Like,
oh, sure, yeah.
Like, they have a bonus point system, and I mean Arizona kind of does that too. So you're more likely to draw. I know I'm way more likely to draw a tag in Utah. Now that I'm a resident, I've brought like 12 points with me.
Oh, sweet. There you go.
As a non-resident, there are hunts I would never get.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'm too far behind. I wouldn't get those hunts, and I was just going to burn them. But then I was like, well, I talked to Ryan Carter.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, if you're going to move to Utah, do not use your points, because as a resident, you'll draw it in a few more years.
Yeah.
I'd be waiting 15 or 20 years as a non-resident. So I don't think that's right. I think it is more difficult to draw.
Sure. Yeah. And that's just, you hear all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but definitely the states, I wish they were a little more, a little kinder to the non-resident.
Sure.
Then I think they garner far more support when it comes to these public land issues.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, even though the states do that, that's not a public land deal. The lands are theirs, and if you don't fight for them, you lose those forever. And it's not so much me. I think, you know, if they privatized Utah, I figure it'd take 100 years maybe.
It'd take a while. It's a lot of land.
Maybe less, but still, my lifetime. But it's not about me.
No.
It's about my kids
generations, man.
and my grandkids, and it's about the wild places that still exist and leaving them alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It'd be a sad world to see the rest of the United States become, you know, for all the wild places to just be taken up by human habitation.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point do we give ground?
It's scary to think about. It's scary to think about.
It's scary to think about the whole population of the whole planet.
Yeah.
And how much we're a single species planet. I hear people say like, did that bear film, and it's like, there's some 500,000 bears in the United States, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But there's like 2 billion people. It's like, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh, we can all pat ourselves on the back because there's 500,000 bears or 1 million bears. But when you look at it on a
it doesn't mean we need to stop preserving their habitat or sell it off or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, what I mean is, though, there are people that so much of the planet is dominated by humans. And so when you have 200,000 elk in one state and you have 400,000 in another, we're like, look at all these elk. It's like you have, I mean, we just vastly outnumber the rest of the species on this planet.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was really meant to be that way.
Yeah.
I have some questions. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I want to ask you a few questions that sometimes I like to throw. It lets me get to know you a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what motivates you now versus 10 years ago? I'd say 20 years ago, but then, then
you're
a baby,
5.
so then you'd be 5. So.
What motivates me now instead of 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Getting other people out. 10 years ago, I was kind of thinking a lot more about myself and hunting for myself. And don't get me wrong, I love hunting myself, but I want to see others thrive, and I want to see others grow in this lifestyle that I have been so blessed to be able to partake in. So I guess what would motivate me now is taking others hunting and introducing others and just seeing their reaction when it all comes together.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, Ellie, she's sitting out here. She killed her first whitetail last year. And, I'm not going to lie, it was a grind. It took her 3 years. We'd hunted a lot. But when it all came together, oh my goodness, better than any deer, anything that I've ever killed. You know what I mean? And that it motivates me and drives me to see that, to see this spark.
When you came up with this T-shirt, #Venison Gains, where did that come from?
So when I was 18 years old, when I graduated high school, I was 128 pounds. So I was always kind of a smaller kid. I just didn't eat a lot. I think that was a lot of it. But at the same time, I didn't work out throughout high school at all. It didn't eat as much as I should have, anything like that. But when I moved out of the house, I had a freezer full of deer meat from the season before, and I got to know a couple people who are into fitness and lifting and stuff like that. I'm like, I'll go to the gym, I'll try it, whatever. And I started getting hooked on the gym. I mean, you know how that goes. And then I'm like looking, because I'm like 18 years old. I'm working, foods. You got to pay for food. You're you're living on your own. Yeah. And I'm like, I've got this freezer full of deer meat, and I love deer meat, And so I just started pounding venison like every day, all night, every single night, every single lunch that I'd take to work. I'd grill some steaks. I'd do venison stir fry, everything. And then I started, when I got more and more into lifting, I started really honing in on my calorie intake and stuff, and trying to figure out how I could gain weight. Yeah. Because I wasn't happy at 128. Obviously my frame was too small. I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel efficient where I was at.
What do you weigh now?
About 170, 168, 170. That's
like
eat that venison. But no, it took work for sure. But venison was like my protein supplement. Supplement. It was my protein intake.
Right.
So when you eat that, for lunch and dinner every day, and you lift, 5 days a week, and you start really honing that stuff in, venison, don't quote me on statistics, but I think it's like 23 grams of protein per like 3 ounces of venison. Yeah. Which is insane, compared to beef or compared to anything else,
Yeah. My grandpa, I had him on the podcast.
That was a good podcast.
And, he's just like, he's talking to me, I don't know, a few months back. It wasn't too long ago, and he was telling me that all they ate was venison. They poached everything, but they still, it was just that
Get your
time.
Meat somehow.
It was that time when game laws were still, they were kind of new. on the scene, and it was like now
things weren't enforced quite.
Yeah, they weren't really enforced.
Yeah.
And remember, he was telling me how, they just come up and they're like, "Now, Joe, did you shoot another deer? You know, you're not supposed to be shooting deers. If you do shoot another deer, we're going to take your gun away."
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I won't shoot anymore, And it just took a while for it to become
a thing.
Yeah, I remember I was reading Theodore Roosevelt. They implemented all the laws, but they had to get a group of people to actually enforce them. And that took some time. Took quite a bit of time. So as he set aside a national refuge, he'd have to also set aside funds and resources to enforce that it's national refuge. Yeah. And you had people going, "What are you talking about? I've been coming out here and smashing birds for the millinery trade for years, so I'm going to go out here and keep doing it." It's like, no, you're not, because now we're going to arrest you and take away this and this and this. And it's like, okay, things change. But he was telling me, "Brian, we ate venison forever." And he goes, we would go out and we would log trees and cut down. And he was a logger forever. And he's like, we're healthy and strong and recovered.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I'm some people are like, oh man, whitetail, mule deer, whatever. It's like, it's so gamey. You got to cook the game out of them. Like, bro, you're not cooking it right. Because to me, I would rather
especially all the corn-fed.
Oh my goodness, it's so good, dude. It's melting in the mouth. Honestly.
Yeah, no. One of the best, and I said this on Instagram, which pissed off a lot of people. I said, my corn-fed Oklahoma whitetail tastes better than my British Columbia moose. Period. Hands down. It
so
melted
good
in my mouth.
So good.
And
it's in how you cook it. I mean, you can overcook it and it's tough, and maybe that might not be that enjoyable.
Venison is meant to be eaten rare.
Oh yeah.
You don't.
I keep it.
Anybody who wants it cooked, thoroughly cooked. You can slow cook it maybe, and then take
crock pot venison is. I like crock pot venison, like pulled venison.
Yeah, if I do some bone stock or bone marrow, and I make that.
I seen you doing that bone marrow stuff. I need to figure that out. Is that pretty good?
It's legit. You just take the bone, especially if it's a beefy bone, like on a moose, and I take the chop saw, just chop the bone up, into
you boil it out.
And then a bunch of people told me to get an Instapot instead of, it's like a pressure cooker crock pot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of using an actual crock pot, but because it can be done in 5 hours or something.
Oh, sure.
But on a crock pot, you throw the bone in, I throw the water in, I throw a few big onions, a bunch of carrots, celery, some bay leaves, different garlic and stuff seasonings in there, and vinegar, because the acid from the vinegar eats away the bone.
Okay.
And so inside the center of the bone, you'll see all this material. It's fat and a lot of fat and a lot of, there's a lot of minerals and calcium and stuff inside that bone. So it's a little gelatinous too. And so anyway, you just boil it for 48 hours or longer.
Does it turn to a liquid state?
Everything turns into just a flat out liquid.
Okay.
So by the time you're done, your carrots and your celery and all of it's completely gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you just have then what you do is you just strain it, and separate your big bones or maybe some chunks of whatever that's still in there. And then we pour it into ice cube trays and freeze it.
Sure.
And then we
just thaw it when you want to use it.
And then we take that and just keep it fresh tasting, and we vacuum seal servings of it. So I vacuum seal, about a morning, a little soup worth. And then I have bone broth every morning. It just tastes it's just delicious.
There's got to be health benefits to that.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Huge. It helps with gut health. You can't have
that much mineral and everything else, like you were talking, calcium and everything inside that not have health benefits out of that.
And the thing is that's how humans have been living for
a long time.
Millions. I mean, we take that and you reduce it down and you're able to consume. I mean, we've had fire for a while.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And we use all of it, all the meat we can. And you throw those bones in there and you boil that for a long time with all the other vegetables. You get a lot of nutrients out of it. But it tastes delicious too. So a lot of these chefs and these guys are doing amazing recipes. They use all that bone marrow, bone broth.
I have to try that sometime. I don't know. Do you suppose a whitetail bone's big enough to even really get much of? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'd try that.
Oh yeah. I mean, people will take a chicken. Just take a chicken, get a chicken, you eat it, and then the
everything that's left.
Everything that's left, they'll throw that in. And chicken feet are really good. It has a lot of collagen and like.
Sounds like it shouldn't be good.
No, like I know a ton of people who make it out of chicken feet.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it just feels good.
Mm-hmm.
But
everything you consume, whether it be anything with food, your supplements that you're taking, and everything like that. I mean, the way it makes you feel, like if your diet is a Big Mac every day, you're not going to feel good. But if your diet is eating venison and eating, lean proteins and eating, your fruits and vegetables and keeping up with, your workouts and your supplements and stuff, and the use of, the smart use of supplements and what you're doing, dude, you feel so much better.
Oh, you've done a good job too. For people that are looking on the outside and they think Nebraska whitetail hunter, Bubba Joe that goes out and road hunts and all of that.
Man, I want to break that habit.
Eats his donuts, And here you are in shape, fit. Yeah. You care about your health. You care about where your meat comes from. Mm-hmm. You're wearing your Venison Gains shirt. You're promoting a message. You're changing people's opinion of what hunting is and why people do it.
Yeah.
When you wear a shirt that says Venison Gains instead of, 200 inches or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Seriously.
It really brings it home to people going, wait a minute. What's going on here?
I'm an opportunity bow hunter because I like meat.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I love chasing big bucks. It's fun because the big bucks are the ones that are hard to kill.
Yeah.
One of my favorite just kills in general was this doe. She had to been 8.5, 9.5. She was old, big old flat top doe. Wow. Outsmarting that was just like outsmarting 160-inch whitetail. And
it's the experience, I think, that I pursue more than ever now. I'm
the same way.
I was in New Zealand and hunting tahr and for 3 days, tried with my bow, failed. And on the last morning, we had a couple hours before we had to turn around and go home. And I'm like, let's bring out the rifle, and I want to take a tahr with a rifle, and I want this experience. I want to walk up on it. I want to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to consume. I want to have the whole thing. You know? So, that experience was deeply rewarding altogether, even though I had the goal for the bow. Yeah. But I didn't. And I didn't really care how big the tahr was the whole time. Like, we were talking to
it's a new species.
The guys there, and they're like, I couldn't even tell a huge difference between,
what's big and what's
a teenage tahr and like an old grandpa. Yeah. Like, once I started to get an eye for it, I could start to pick it out, but it didn't matter for me. I mean, I was excited. It reminds me of shooting like your first forked horn buck or something. Yeah. Like, you don't care.
Yeah.
You really don't. But later, the experience, I want both meat and, when you impose restrictions on yourself, like, I only want to hunt a deer of this age class. Mm-hmm. And let's say on public land.
Yeah.
And I want to use a recurve. And you can just start
You're limiting yourself, right?
You can just start doing this, going down this road, right? But that becomes a personal experience for you and it's a growth experience. Mm-hmm. When you say, I'm, part of the reason I pass on an animal when I'm out in the woods because I want to shoot something older is because I also don't want the hunt to end, and I still haven't finished learning about the animal, what it does, where it goes, and as it gets older, it's way smarter.
Yeah.
And so it's this journey. It's not as black and white as people think, but very easy to see when you have venison gains on your chest that the meat
it means a lot.
Very important.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to say, like, if you are a couch potato, if you you just enjoy eating Twinkies and watching TV or whatever, and you've got a piece of property that you can run out to with a rifle and tip over a 160-inch whitetail you have a lot of land to do that, and you just have the resources to do that. Maybe you got some friends that are helping you manage the ground, whatever. If that's your experience and you want to experience that, man, by all means experience that. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, man, you have to be ripped to go hunt whitetail. It's like, that's not true. But let me tell you, the experience you get when you hunt public ground, hang and hunt, carrying a tree stand in, you got a lot of weight on your back. You're going for an experience. You're going for this hunt that you want to achieve. And I just want to show people the lifestyle that is, it's so rewarding.
But here's the thing. I would do what I do as far as pursuing a healthy diet, pursuing
just
fitness,
for everyday life,
whether I hunted or not.
Yeah. That's
just how I'm wired. It matters to me being healthy and strong and being able to do things. It's a way of living.
Yeah.
It gives me confidence. It makes me feel good. I'm in better shape now than I was in my late 20s.
Mentally too.
I think you push through. It's not about, I hear people talk about how they want to be in shape so they can hunt. I love that. You found some motivation that gets you out there.
Yeah.
And then for some of them, they're like, well, you don't need that to hunt. I'm like, you don't need that to hunt.
Yeah.
But being in shape to me isn't about hunting. Like, there is that link and it helps push me harder. Yeah. But for me, it's like, it's about life.
It's a lifestyle. That's kind of why I call it. That's kind of why I call my brand a lifestyle brand. Is because that is exactly what it is. It's a lifestyle. It, like you say, it doesn't all.
It stands for
hunting.
Life and a way to live.
Yep. Yeah.
I just think exercise, fitness, diet, all that stuff is responsible living. It empowers you to do a lot more. That doesn't mean that I don't like to eat ice cream and cake and a donut and all that stuff. I just found that, and I can do all that. In moderation.
Yeah.
Like anything. And I'm not willing to give up. It's the cost is too high for me to pound Twinkies every day.
Yep.
Be a couch potato.
Yeah. You start feeling it.
And I'm not, I get it. It's hard. It's hard, especially for some people. You look at Casey LeVere, he's lost a lot of weight.
Oh, he crushed it.
From Hush.
40-some pounds, I think, right?
Yeah, he did the Mountain Ops 90-day challenge. Dude looks like
he looks good.
So much happier, and he feels.
I could tell talking to him over this weekend, like, he's a happy dude. Not that he wasn't before. He was happy before, but man, he's energetic.
Yeah. And I think Jordan tried to give him some junk food. And he whipped out a tuna packet and said,
"Push it aside."
Yeah.
We sat down and had dinner with Casey and his little brother Logan, and Ben Shed Crazy. He ordered a plate and it came with mashed potatoes.
Yeah,
and he ate everything on the plate and he put the mashed potatoes aside and said, "Hey, Ethan, you want to?" My brother Ethan was with us, and he's like, "You want some mashed potatoes?" It's like, "Sweet," So, but it's cool. He's strict to it.
Right.
And like I say, it's hard though when you have a Twinkie in front of you.
Yeah. I think it's hard at first. As you get, my mom would always say this, how did she say it? She was like, this doesn't taste as good as healthy feels.
That is a great saying. I like that.
So she'd sit down and she's like, now there was a scale, right? So there's certain foods where she's like, okay, this trumps.
This definitely tastes better.
This tastes better. Yeah. This tastes better than healthy feels. So I'm going to eat this. But when she put that in front of her, it was like, she was able to decide, I'm only going to eat when it comes to something that's really not so good for you, it better be dang good, or she's like, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big eater, man. I love food, and
keeps the wheels turning.
And I'll put the food down, but Jordan and Casey, they also know like I won't eat for 2 days. If I have this motto, like I'd rather not eat than eat stuff that's junk. And so when we get out and we start doing things,
you're a strong man.
I will just stop eating.
Yeah. And
so we'll be on the road and it'll just be cookies and snacks. And I'm like, yep, I'll just go without. I'll drink water. And knowing that I'll slam those calories back when I do get in front of some food that's worth eating. But I've been wired that way for a long time.
One thing I've noticed with, so I do whitetail hunts, western hunts, and anything. I'll do like a week-long whitetail hunt, and I'll pack all my food for it. And whether I just sleep in a tent or whatever, I find whether it be, out on the plains or southeast, whatever, packing good food, is tough. I've found.
I think.
Is it easier for you? Because it's hard for me.
I think it's it just takes preparation, but I don't think it's difficult.
Yeah,
I think you just have to take the time to, to map it out and figure it out. Yeah. Just like people who do meal planning for the whole week.
Yeah.
Once you kind of have it figured out and you prepare, put forethought into it, it's not hard.
Yeah, it's easy. Most places you're going to do like a week-long whitetail hunt. It's super easy to drive back into town and stop at a restaurant or a gas station and pick up just junk.
Snyder and I...
It's hard to stay true to what you brought,
Yeah. I think in that case you're bringing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Probably.
I mean, like I don't do Mountain House. I quit doing Mountain House, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago.
It's got a lot of... I don't know. I found it had a lot of sodium, and it just didn't make me feel very good.
Makes me feel like crap.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
And I don't like the macro ratios. I think they're way low in protein. And I prefer something, but that's not my thing. I mean, pretty much what I'll bring like oats in the morning.
Sure.
And a scoop of whey protein of some kind. I'll bring buckwheat from like Heather's Choice. I like some of those meals. Yeah. I like Off Grid Food Co. They have this mango oatmeal meal, but I'll slam back some oats with nuts and some fruit, something like that. And then you could throw in a scoop of vanilla or chocolate whey protein in there, mix it with some warm water, and you've got like a great breakfast.
Yeah. When I'm packing for hunts, that is my favorite thing, is oatmeal in the morning.
Yeah.
Oatmeal in the morning, and then I'm an advocate for tuna packets. They're easy, and they're a good snack throughout the day.
I'll bring a tuna packet. I'll bring like those little wax covered cheeses or string cheese. I like jerky, so I'll bring dried meat like that. So the jerky and cheese are big for me. Like I eat that every day, and I never really get tired of it, especially if you have good jerky.
Do you ever find that sometimes maybe you're on hunts where you're packing stuff like that maybe you're eating like your ratios are off a little bit, like you're almost eating more protein to all the other all the other nutrition that you're trying to get in a day? Do you ever feel like you're outweighing? Because sometimes I feel like I'm bringing too much. Like everything I have is just a bunch of protein and a bunch of stuff like that. And I understand you need calories and stuff because you're going to be burning it throughout the day. But how do you balance, when you pack for a hunt, how do you balance nutrition?
So, for me, I look at calorie intake and macros, and then I look for quality food. It's that simple. Calorie intake, I mean, if I'm out there hiking and really working hard, I'll consume between 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And so I already know those are the calories I need to hit. I know how much fat or how much protein I want to hit. If I'm working that hard and I'm carrying a heavy pack and I'm really going, I want about 150 grams of protein for me.
Yeah.
There's guys that say you should have 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. You know, so I don't know if you were how lean. You're pretty lean. How much would you say is your lean muscle mass?
I think I did a body index or one of the percentage whatever things you did once, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I think I did 8%.
8%.
Yeah.
So, but let's say how much do you weigh?
Like 168, 170.
Okay, so let's say you're 170. You probably 150 grams of protein at least a day.
Yeah.
And sometimes guys say 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. I just don't do well on that much protein.
Well, I have to do that much protein. I'll do that much and more when I'm trying to build, when I'm trying to gain weight.
Yeah.
But just, I'm the same way. Just for an everyday, especially on hunts and stuff like that, you can feel sluggish if you do something like that and you exert yourself with protein and stuff.
I don't know. I know for me from experimentation that 150 grams a day,
that's 100,
150, sometimes 160 is about right for me. So I want to make sure I'm getting that. So, a scoop of whey is like 20 grams, a serving of jerky. I got some cheese. I'll have a tuna packet, and then I'll maybe have another scoop of whey later because whey is really efficient, lightweight.
Yeah.
There's different protein bars. Like I like to bring those perfect bars.
Oh, sure,
the peanut butter ones, or the chocolate peanut butter, or the peanut butter, or the peanut butter, or the peanut butter.
You like the peanut butter ones?
And
no, they're good. They're good.
I like to bring and then so I kind of have, and then I have usually some kind of meal that night, which has, like I like the Heather's Choice, smoked salmon meal.
Sure. I've never tried the Heather's Choice, but I'm interested.
There's a few, that's my favorite entree that she makes. The other ones are a little spicy, too spicy for me. And, adventurous. But there's, there's other foods out there that I'll bring, pre-done meals.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we would do is I'll go to like Whole Foods and get some rice noodles. Or some egg noodles. And, I'll boil those up kind of like ramen. And then
it's pretty lightweight.
Yep. And then I'll throw in, and just the soup and the broth and stuff when you're up on the mountain like that. It's just nice. And then throw in a couple packets of tuna and mix it with it. And, the other thing I like to do is dehydrated eggs.
Oh, really?
I just like dehydrated eggs. You can make your own.
Okay. I've always been weird about dehydrated eggs, and I don't know why.
I love them.
But it just seems when you rehydrate them, you're like, this is wrong.
They're like foam.
Yeah.
They're like
this
egg
is
flavored
This
foam.
is like, it's like what McDonald's little those egg patties that they put on their
if you chop up some bacon and you dehydrate that with the egg,
that might not be as bad.
It helps with that for people, but I have no problem smashing dehydrated eggs. Like
really?
I love them.
Well, and you get your protein and stuff out of it,
and fats, and they're super light.
Yeah, super
light. So then I like to throw in there just some honey oat bars, like Nature's Valley, kind of just some straight up sugar kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and then I like Heather's Choice, those little coconut balls, the packaroons.
Oh, okay. I've heard you talking about those. Yeah. Yeah,
they're super lightweight. They have a lot of coconut oil in them, and the coconut flesh gives you some carbs and sugar. And that's the kind of food that I'm bringing each day.
Of all the stuff that you bring, do you have like one thing that's like your your comfort?
Yeah,
as in something that might not be that healthy, but it's like, dude, I gotta have this if I'm gonna be on the mountain.
Okay, if I'm up there, something that I like to bring is, that I like to, if I have time, which I usually do, I'll make a sandwich that I'll just get some bread that I like, or my wife will make it, and then I put peanut butter and bacon and honey and jam, all of them in that sandwich. And then I vacuum seal it.
Yeah.
Aaron calls it butthole sandwiches because he uses a bagel. And then when you vacuum seal it, it looks like the brown eye. Yeah. So it has that nickname. Anyway,
Fitting.
Yeah, fitting. It doesn't really appeal to me. I don't like bagels much. They hold better. They keep from soaking up all the jam but I actually like the gooey, nasty,
just getting it all soaked
just
up
all
in
one.
I hated that.
It's like
man.
a ball of like gushy stuff with bacon in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my go-to, like, delicious. I'll never get tired of it, man. I'll never get tired of smashing, a big bread, bacon, peanut butter, and honey.
We did
mixture.
that in so my buddy Wes and I went to, again, public ground in Wyoming last year, and on an elk hunt, and him and his dad drew a tag, and I wish I could remember the guys, because I hadn't heard of that beforehand, but it's very similar. And I wish I could remember the guy's Instagram handle. Sorry, dude, I don't remember what the handle was, but he sent me a DM because I was posting something about getting ready and getting things packed up for food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you ought to try these. Like, here's the recipe or whatever. And he listed it out. And yeah, it was just like whatever bagel you like, whether it's plain or whatever, cinnamon, whatever. I went with cinnamon bagels, but just a bagel. And then I did crunchy peanut butter and then bacon and honey.
Yeah.
Yeah. You put all that together and
you can throw it in a Ziploc. You don't have to vacuum seal it.
We called it calorie bombs. So whenever we were feeling a little sluggish or whatever, we'd be crushing miles, and then you'd kind of stop for lunch or whatever. And Wes is like, man, I could really go for a calorie bomb right now. You just pull this thing out and literally right in the palm of your hands, like 800 calories. And you just like smash it and you're going.
I mean, that's kind of, again, one of those go-to. And I find that I like, I'll cruise around Whole Foods or REI, and I'll grab like a couple of things. Like my daughter really likes those like flavored marshmallow things. I don't forget what they're called, but they're just
like colored ones.
They're like a little square marshmallow deal that is covered in like cinnamon and stuff.
Peeps?
And no, they're like more whole foody.
Oh, okay.
These, but they're just a nice treat, and I like those popcorn kernels.
Oh yeah, like the balls,
the unpopped.
Okay,
the unpopped popcorn that they have at REI.
Sure.
Forget what it's called, and they have different flavors. But I think when you're out there on the mountain and you're hiking like you are, and you're going out and about, you bring some seasonings, olive oil, some seasonings and different stuff, so you can whack a grouse. And if it's in season,
you
can shoot a few squirrels. Aaron and I would shoot. You shoot some squirrels, and then you can like just mix it up with some olive oil. You throw in with your ramen and your soup and everything, and then you're eating some fresh meat on the mountain.
Yeah. Which is a mental thing too. It's a game changer when you can,
when you can 3 or 4 days on like, pre-prepared food is just not as good as fresh. Yeah.
Fresh. Yeah.
Fish if they're nearby. So we come prepared for that. But that's if we're staying for quite a while. But I think I really truly believe in bringing food that you like to eat.
Yeah.
Not stuff that's just lightweight, not stuff that's just healthy.
Yeah.
I would eat this stuff every day that I bring anyway.
Yeah.
I make some concessions for weight. I'll mix some whey protein into my oatmeal.
Yeah.
When I'm on the mountain, because I know I need it, and I'd normally probably just eat. I normally wouldn't really eat oats very often, but on the mountain, when I'm hiking as much as I am, my carbohydrate intake goes way up.
Yeah.
So, so once I have my protein figured out, okay, now I've hit 150 for that day. I have a 1 gallon Ziploc bag. I put each of the things in there, right? And then I'm calculating my calories, right? And I throw in my oatmeal, all the things I kind of want to eat. About the time I'm done, I have about 3,500 calories in that Ziploc. Yeah. And I know I need to eat that before I go to bed that night.
Yeah.
Everything in that Ziploc.
Yeah. At least to replenish what you've burned.
Yeah. And so the fact is, when I'm hiking, and my appetite, for some reason, I have a hard time eating that much.
I find the same thing.
I mean, at one point last year, I went from 195 to 170 in just a few weeks.
Over the hunt?
Sure. And I was like, I just didn't, that was major. I mean, all the muscle gains, all the strength, all the fitness gains that I had gained throughout the whole spring, summer, leading up to the fall, I lost in like 1 month.
Yeah.
And Snyder and I both got Giardia when we were in British Columbia because the cabins that we were staying in, they had these water cisterns that held the water, and those had become contaminated. So when we went into the local cabins and we were drinking out of the faucets,
pulling out of
the cisterns, which got us all sick. If we had just pulled from the water without any filtration, it was super clean. There was nothing in the water up north like that. But
it was just pulling through the system, got all the...
Yeah, it had sat for a while with water in it, and they cleaned it with bleach. It just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But that made us sick. And then you add on top of that all the physical exertion and the hiking and everything, and the body just starts consuming itself. It has to repair tissue from somewhere. So the way I picture it is it's starting to take whatever biceps I've got left and the shoulders, and it starts rerouting it to my butt and thighs, which are what's carrying all the loads, and my quads. And
I did that hunt that I went on with Wes out in Wyoming. We did 10 days, and I think we covered on just over little over 100 miles in 10 days.
Yeah.
And I went out on that hunt. I think I was about 171, in those 70s, you know. And I came back from that hunt, and I think I was 162. I lost like 8 to 10 pounds just in 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So I try to eat all that stuff, and I do fairly well, unless I get sick like that. I always bring some Imodium AD or something else in case, you get stomach pain or diarrhea or whatever. But I like to eat that way. And then, it ends up being quite a bit of carbohydrate to get me to that 3,500 calories. Sure. And that's okay. I still have quite a bit of fat in there as well, just because I like it. But the macros kind of work themselves out if I start with protein and then just kind of put in there what I crave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
And then by the time I calculate it, it's rare that I have like my macros kind of skewed, I
have this, it's funny. I've got this one thing that I always take if it's a long hunt, and I know like mentally I already know that I'm not going to like love the food I'm eating throughout this hunt, if it's a pack hunt,
Yeah.
But I've got this one thing that I always bring, and it is sour gummy bears. I gotta have
you and the Harbertsons.
Oh my gosh,
You're like have children.
I gotta have a handful. If I have a handful of sour gummy bears, it's a mental thing. It's just like, oh man, this tastes good. You know.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Me.
No, but I do want straight up sugar.
Yeah.
I'll
and you can get you don't have to get your sugar from candies.
I'll bring those like chocolate peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
From like Whole Foods. And I will bring up candy.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of candy like that. Just because like sometimes when you're hiking out, you know it. You need carbs. You need sugar.
Yeah.
Your body's like, I want sugar.
Yeah. You feel kind of light on your feet and stuff, and you kind of have to just sit down and just, all right, I need to eat.
But a lot of times I do that in the form of liquid.
Sure.
So I don't bring sour gummy bears. I bring, I like to bring Pedialyte.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times.
Huh. So what does Pedialyte do for?
So I typically for drinking, I bring Ignite, Mountain Ops Ignite, because that stuff is amazing.
Yes.
And I like to cycle off of it. Like
that grape right here.
Like if I know I'm going to hunt starting August or September, right about now, I'll stop taking Ignite for like 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Some people, or 4 weeks. Some people don't, for me, I find like when I'm not using it for a space of time and then I bring it out and use it,
it becomes more potent.
It's far more effective for me.
That's with a lot of pre-workouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's same for coffee, right? If a guy cycles off coffee and then goes back on it when he's back
month
on it.
on, month off kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's very effective that way.
Yeah.
If you take it every day for a year or up to 2 doses a day for a year, I mean, you're just taking it, it's not going to have the same potency.
Yeah. Yep.
So I like to stop taking that and then I use it throughout hunting season.
Yeah.
And when I'm back home for a couple of weeks, I don't take any stimulants at all. And then when I'm back out hunting, I'm back on the stimulants.
Yeah.
And I just find that
it makes it that much more effective.
yeah, it makes it work. When I want to perform, there. When I'm home, I can afford to, get a little extra sleep, and I don't have to cheat myself out of hours. I don't have to spend the night in the woods maybe and not sleep well. So I want those stimulants as potent as possible when I'm up there.
Yeah.
So I tend to cycle off in preparation for the hunts, but I love Ignite. And then I'll bring Pedialyte and some Enduro. But I like the Pedialyte. It has sugar in it.
Yeah.
It has some magnesium and whatever. But I just like it. I don't know what it is. It's not cheap, but it just kind of has a punch to it that I've been taking it for years. I've been bringing it with me on backpack hunts for years.
Sure.
Aaron would bring some other drink mixes.
That's really high in electrolytes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that what? Okay.
And I my whole family, we tend to deplete electrolytes really easily.
Sure.
And we're working with Mountain Obs, so there's some electrolyte, stuff out there that I'm really keen to try. That they're kind of, this is what they do. So I'd like to see that come to market.
Yeah.
So, but I take that electrolyte because it means everything, and a lot of that means there's salt in it too. But I perform well when I have it. So I'll have a couple of packets of that a day. I'll bring those emergency packets.
Oh yeah.
Emergency vitamin C stuff. Bring 1 or 2 of those. And I just keep well hydrated with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Whitetail hunts, most of the time you're not doing it backpack in and stay for a few days. You're pretty much coming back to your car most days,
We had a couple 17-mile days this year. Many, like 8, 9-mile days, 10-mile days.
For whitetail?
No. For just our regular hunts.
Okay. Yeah.
So we, lots of, miles covered every day. And that liquid helps. When I was in Texas and when I was whitetail hunting, we came back for lunch.
Oh yeah.
To the house, and it wasn't strenuous.
Yeah, definitely. The only time whitetail hunting, like I say, when you do a public land thing and you do the solo thing, and obviously public land, you can't really come back to a house every day. If you're doing a week-long trip and you're dedicated to staying on that, focusing on that ground for a week. But you can bring a cooler, fill your cooler with ice, bring whatever you want. You can bring your fruits and vegetables then.
Yeah.
And you can bring, cold drinks and stuff like that. So, you can come back. It's not like a hard backpack hunt where you're killing it and then you're like, man, I gotta have these calories and stuff. Most of the time you can come back to your car, eat your food and stuff like that. But that still doesn't get away from the fact that, you're packing in a tree stand and you're going in and it's still a physical hunt.
So, because you were talking earlier about, bringing food and you're like, okay, you're kind of grinding through your meal. Like it's not my favorite, but I'm eating it because I need the calories.
Yeah.
And the nutrition. Like I talked to Zach Griffith, he's on the podcast, and Zach's like, I eat like chicken breast with no fat, and I eat like a pile of carrots and stuff, and I eat, and he's like, and I pretty much eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for months.
What?
Are you wired that way?
No, I can't do that, dude. I wish, honestly, I need to be way more strict with my diet sometimes because I can get sidetracked pretty easy. Just working construction full time. You your lunches and stuff like that, often you're on a job site. Sometimes it's hard to pack your food because maybe you're pouring concrete over noon and you can't get to your food. So
Right.
then, you take lunch at 2:00 and then it's like, well, there's not a microwave here to warm up what I'm wanting to eat. So what's the nearest thing to eat? And then, but I really, really try to, if we're going out to eat somewhere, I really try to look at the menu and say, all right, out of all of this, what can I figure out that seems the best, seems the healthiest decision?
I'm a food snob, dude. Like so we have a lot of prepared, like venison. She'll slow cook it and then it'll be in slices in the freezer. Yeah. I'll just grab a chunk of cheese, grab an apple and go.
Yeah.
But, simple eating like that, I actually like. I don't struggle with it, but I definitely don't. When I go hunting, I go anywhere, I try to make the food a big deal in terms of how good it tastes.
Yeah.
Aaron Snyder's really good. I mean, he eats better on the mountain than he does at home. I mean, it's like you can do that and you should, because that should be one of the funnest parts of the trip is the food you're eating.
Dude, I learned a lot from this last shed hunt that I went on with Eric Chesser. The dude eats like a king on the mountain.
Right.
Like,
it's the hush life.
It's the hush life, dude. Like, eats like a king.
Yeah.
And he was cooking dinner for Ellie and I, and it's like, oh my gosh, dude. I've got
step it up,
sweet
Joel.
potatoes.
You got to step it up.
Oh my goodness. I know, dude. I was like, this is the way I should be doing this. Like, I'm packing all this stuff that's, whatever. It gets me through the day, but
Ryan
my goodness.
and Hillary Lampers at Harvest Health have a lot of cool stuff too. We've downloaded their PDF, things on how to can food and how to do some food prep, and they have some podcasts on it, and they're very good at like dehydrating and preserving food. And Ryan makes his own backpacking meals, and it's very doable, and I think that that was a goal for me this last 6-7 months, was when I'm on the road to eat well.
Yeah.
That means
It's tough to do sometimes.
I'm prepared now. I'm committed. It's a choice I've made. I'm gonna get it all dialed, so I don't really leave the house without stuff in case I can't get to a quality place to eat it when I'm there.
Sure.
I'm bringing it with me.
Yeah.
And it's stuff I've decided I'm taking before I leave.
That's what, like, last year at Total Archery Challenge. So I came out here last year to shoot it, and same thing. Eric does a lot of the same stuff. He's sitting there at the booth, and there's food around. You can get food wherever, and he had a pre-made salmon meal.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, dude, it's just
I'd rather
from
eat
home.
Yep.
It works out great for him.
I interviewed Chris Spieler just a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
Who's at the TAC CrossFit Games athlete, and he talked a little bit about that. He's like, if most of the meals you eat you cook, then you're miles ahead of the average person in the United States in terms of your health.
Yeah, sure.
So
Head of the
that's
game.
something to think about.
Yeah.
And I tend to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Perfect. Yeah.
It rarely comes out of a box, and I rarely buy it at a restaurant or something else.
Yeah, I need to. That's one thing I've always kind of struggled with is my diet. And I've just always had a really high metabolism.
I bet that irritates people when you're like
Sometimes.
super jacked.
A few people,
But I eat,
brother out there.
but I eat hamburgers and fries.
Yeah.
But I'm cursed with this super jacked body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just always been something that it's just my genetics. I have really high metabolism, and that's why I was 128 pounds. Granted, I didn't eat as much as I should have, but my metabolism was just ridiculous. Literally, when I made the decision and started going to the gym and wanting to put on weight because I didn't like where I was at, I didn't feel efficient. When I made that decision, I was eating 4,000 plus calories a day, and lifting. In order for me to build 3,000 to 3,500 calories wouldn't get me anywhere.
Yeah,
I would have to eat more, and it's just my metabolism. It's just the way it was, and I know a lot of people get mad at that, but it's just everybody's different, So.
Well, one more question before you go. Who would you say would be like a hunting type of, like a hunting hero for you? Someone that you've looked up
Definitely.
to that kind of informed who you are today.
Honestly, Cameron Haynes and yourself. Yeah.
You're just saying that because you're on the podcast.
No, I'm not just saying that. Because, dude.
Yeah, you are.
No. Because the lifestyle that you're living is a lot of the lifestyle that I try to live. And a lot of the lifestyle that Cam lives, a lot of the lifestyle that I try to live. And just seeing how Cam has built himself the way he has, running 200-plus miles shouldn't even be humanly possible, but it is for him.
Yeah.
And yourself, the kind of weight you throw around for your body weight with CrossFit and stuff blows my mind, because there's no way I could do that ever. But it's something to inspire, you know. So, yeah, dude, yourself and Cameron Haynes, honestly. Yeah, for sure.
It's because he's only 25. It's because he's only 20. He's a baby. Like I was expecting, you know, like some legend, like, you know, I don't know, Chuck Adams or something.
Oh man, he is a beast. He's a beast. So. Yeah. No, as far as like the Midwestern whitetail scene, stuff like that, Michael Waddell was a big one. I kind of grew up
Waddell.
Dude, he's such a stud, dude. He's just so fun.
Yeah.
So fun. He's such an easygoing guy. Met him a few times, and every time I talk to him, I'm just like...
I met him, and we had him on the podcast, and
ATA. Yeah.
And honestly, I was... you know, just because they're in a different world from me, I was like, they're not Western like the guys I've grown. They're not Cameron Haynes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then getting to know them, we're all passionate about hunting, and we have totally different backgrounds. But yeah, I was very much. I really enjoyed hanging out with them.
Yeah,
they were salt of the earth,
dudes.
funny.
Nick will crack you up.
Yeah, they're all funny.
Yeah.
Travis T-Bone Turner they're just solid dudes.
Yeah, good dudes.
Pretty for, I mean, just humble. You know,
and that's what you try to be. You don't want to come off as a jerk to anybody, you know, and that's what I don't want to come off as. It's like, dude, if I'm doing something that like maybe wouldn't, I don't know, that would come off weird. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that like somebody look at and be like, he's a positive figure. He's doing things positive. He's wanting to do the right thing and stuff like that. That's just what I want to do. And that's what all these guys are, you know, the bone collector guys, yourself, Cam, you know.
Well, they all reach people that are around them. One of the things I worry about when I'm at TAC or something is snubbing someone or making them feel like I ignored them.
Yeah.
I try really hard to go out of my way to make sure that I don't do that. But sometimes I think, I mean, it's bound to happen just because you're busy. You're going from one thing to another. And
with the platforms now, there's a lot of eyes on us right now,
which is great. You know, I look at Chad Mendez just had his fight last night and just
stud 52 seconds.
And you have that figure now. He's passionate about hunting. He makes it he's very vocal about it. He loves the outdoors. He's well spoken. He works hard, and he's a gifted athlete. And here he is, you know, with that stage he's on. Yeah. He's able to change hearts and minds, you know.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, you look at that. You look at Cameron Haynes and his reach. And I think people are watching, and it's a great time to be a hunter. And I just hope we continue to present a good image for hunting. Keep building that, but also
be yourself too.
Be yourself.
You got to be yourself.
But also, like, don't be afraid to stand up for the things you believe in.
Yeah.
You know, I think I said this to you the other day. I know there are guys that love public lands, but they don't want to get political.
They don't want to get involved with
They don't want to, like, you know, alienate a part of the audience, their audience that may not agree with their stance on public lands.
Yeah.
And so they stay out of that. And for me, it's like, look, if we can't all agree on the public land thing, then I guess maybe we can't agree.
Yeah.
And if they abandon the platform, if they don't want to consume the show because of my stance on that, then so be it. But I think you have to stand for what you believe in, or what's the point
100%.
of doing anything that you're doing?
Yeah.
If you just provide entertainment, but you don't have like any stance on something that you feel is deeply important.
Here's one thing that I really try to do is show my failures. And I think that's huge because the average hunter out there is going to fail a lot. I'm the average hunter. I've failed a lot. Mm-hmm. Have I had some success? Yeah. And it's been awesome when I have. But I want to show the failures because it's real and people can connect with that. People can it's real.
I agree.
And if you're not being real and you're not being real to yourself, you're not being real to anybody.
Yeah. We're working on this tar film and I was like, I missed more times than, you want to admit publicly.
It happens.
But it's real. It's what happened. Yeah. I practice and I work hard and I try to be a really skilled archer and a skilled hunter. Mm-hmm. And I learned from this trip and I walk away from it and there's things that I've changed. I learn every year and those failures are what help you get better and better. And I think it's a disservice to try to present some other reality,
Well, sometimes what we all like to watch highlight reels sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the highlight reels make other people feel really inefficient.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And
people will feel really good about all my failures coming up. So
yeah, dude.
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah. Like you do get a feeling like everybody makes heart shots and nobody ever misses. And, everybody's really, skilled at calling elk. And what you don't see often is all those failures that led up to that final moment. Yeah. It's that highlight reel.
Yeah. But, and it resonates with people because I'll get messages all the time that's just like, dude, I'm really like, I'm inspired by just the fact that you're just doing what you love and presenting it in a way that is real. And it's the way you see it and the way you're doing it is how I'm putting it out, and people have been really responsive to that in a really good way.
Yeah.
And I love to see that, man. And it's crazy for me to be like, cause I'm a couple of years into this now, and, coming out here to Total Archery Challenge, there was a ton of people. They were like, "Oh dude, you're Joel from Whitetail Fit. What's up, buddy? Like I follow you on Instagram and stuff. It's so nice to meet you," stuff. And I'm like, I'm just Joel, like, like, yeah. It's nice to meet you, but it's a different, it's really cool to see it resonating and for people to, consume my content and, really take something away from it. I've got messages from people saying, that they've lost a ton of weight. They shot their first deer. They took their kid out hunting. They did all this stuff. And it's like, because I watch your film, I've seen the stuff you're posting on Instagram stuff and it inspired me to go to the gym today. And now I've been hitting the gym for the past month. And now it's like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Totally
positive message about getting outdoors and doing it for the right reasons. And it resonates. I like what you said about being real. Just be real. And it all kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
And you shot well this weekend?
As well as I could. I think I only busted 5 arrows. Last year I busted like 10. So I did better this year. I think, I've been, like I say, I practice a lot at long distance, but the main reason I practice a lot at long distance is I do an antelope hunt every year. Mm-hmm. And there's no two ways about it. A lot of times you got to take a long shot.
So the question I have is, Ethan really digs, all the content that John Dudley puts out.
Yeah.
So
he loves John.
He's into archery.
Oh yeah. He's got every release John's ever put out. He's got his rest.
So do I.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. Good stuff.
So the question is, between you and Ethan, who is the better shot?
Oh boy. Ooh, that is a tough one.
Ethan looks pretty confident over there.
Confident out there.
Okay.
You did win the Sitka system. They had that novelty shoot out there, and he hit it on the button and won a full Sitka system. So he's an amazing shot. Yeah.
I'd ask Emmy, but I think she's biased.
Ellie?
Ellie. I'd ask Ellie, but I think she's biased.
She might be a little biased. Yeah. Yeah, she's saying Ethan won her best. Yeah, he has become... How long have you been in it? 2.5 years now?
Oh, wow.
So I've been doing it for like 13, 14 years. And Ethan came in, he's been doing it for 2.5 years. And I will say, in 2.5 years, he has become one of the best archers I've ever seen in that time of in that time period.
Window.
Yeah, that window. Because it's because of content. It's because of stuff that John's putting out. Ethan takes that and he soaks it in. He listens to the podcast and he soaks all that in, and he'll go down to the range for 3-4 hours a day and pound all that content through his brain. And then he sits there and he just blows X's. You know what I mean? So, I mean, content's huge.
Yeah, empowering.
Yeah, very,
sure.
very.
Yeah, absolutely.
But who's the best shot? He's pretty good.
Who can do more pull-ups?
Oh, that'd be me.
You got that? Okay.
I got that going for me.
Well, Joel, dude, thanks. Appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, good luck out there this season. I'll be watching.
Appreciate it, buddy.
As always.
Thank you, buddy.
Stay gritty.
Yeah.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place and time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.